Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. Now, there's a lot to get through this week because obviously the Premier League's getting pretty much well underway now. We've got the draw for the Champions League. We get the last few days of the transfer window, so there's been quite a lot going on. So that's where we're going to start with this week's podcast. And first of all, looking at the Premier League, basically, it's been 4 or 5 teams that made really good starts. West Ham find themselves top of the table after 2 games, so people like Donna and Ian and Lindsay make the most of it. It's probably not going to stay there. Having said that, they did well last year and they look a good team. They played really well on Monday night against Leicester. Michael Antonio looks a real force. The problem with Michael, obviously, is the fact that he's prone to a lot of injuries, so if they can keep him fit, they're going to have another good season, I would have thought, because he scores plenty of goals and he really made a mockery of the Leicester defence. Soyuncu in particular really struggled. Well, I rate him as a defender generally, but he has these moments where he doesn't play too good, and he had a couple of those moments on Monday night, and West Ham totally exploited it, and they played really well. The midfielders for Leicester didn't get into the game at all, so yeah, they've made a good start. Liverpool look like more like their normal selves. They've got the Andy Robertson missing at the moment, but Trent Alexander-Arnold seems to be firing all cylinders already, keen to make up for time he lost during the summer with the Euros, and obviously he's back in England's squad. We'll come on to that in a moment as well. But yeah, Liverpool started well. Chelsea started very well. They look very strong. Tottenham have started well amidst all the rumours about Harry Kane, who's now confirmed his future. And again, we'll come on to that in a moment. And Brighton, the other team, 5 unbeaten teams at the top of the table. So they're all started well. There's some teams that haven't started so well. Arsenal are really struggling after the first couple of games. But like I say, it's only the first couple of games. They have now signed Martin Odegaard to strengthen the midfield, so hopefully that will help them. They have got talents in people like Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe and Kieran Tierney. Aubameyang looks to be back into his reasonable health now, and he started scoring goals this season. He scored a hat-trick the other night in the League Cup and already made an appearance briefly in the previous game. So if they can get him back to his normal self, then Arsenal will pick up and move up the table. Newcastle have made a slow start. Villa beat them fairly comfortably on Saturday 2-0. Steve Bruce had a little bit of a whinge about a couple of decisions, but having seen most of the game and maybe a little bit biased, Villa did beat them fairly comfortably overall, so it was probably a fair result. Leeds have only got 1 point on the board, but they played a lot better against Everton and probably should have won that game. So they're doing okay-ish at the moment. They've got Burnley away on Sunday of Leeds, so they'll be looking to win that one. We've got Manchester United, who surprisingly dropped a couple of points at Southampton. Mason Greenwood's made a good start to the season, but again, we'll come on to him in a moment about the England squad, so we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, surprised that they dropped a couple of points at Southampton, perhaps, but Southampton did put up a good performance. The Livramento, the fullback, he looked really good, young prospect Southampton, and you can see why Walker Peters was left out. So that's what's been going on in the Premier League so far. We've got another round of fixtures this weekend before we come on to the international break. England have got 3 qualifiers coming up in the next couple of weeks. I think they're playing Andorra, Poland, I can't remember the game, but they've got 3 qualifiers, and the squad was announced by Gareth Southgate yesterday. Not too many surprises, really, other than perhaps to say that Patrick Bamford, there was a lot of clamour for him to be called up for the Euro squad, and people were disappointed that he wasn't in there, but he's now actually got his call up. He's in his squad, simply because of the fact probably that they've got injuries to Marcus Rashford and to Phil Foden, not Ben Foden, Phil Foden, and so there was a couple of spaces. And I've mentioned Trent Alexander-Arnold already. He's back in the squad as well. No other real surprises. Good to see that Sam Johnson's retained his place as one of the goalkeepers. Nick Pope's back in the fold after missing out in the summer through injury. But I'm sure Jordan Pickford will play quite a major part. He's the number 1 choice, so maybe I don't know if he'll play all 3 games, but he'll play most of it, I would have thought. So those are 3 goalkeepers. Can't think of any of the real surprises amongst the squad, to be honest with you. There'll be a couple of players who've missed out. Ollie Watkins is injured, so he probably wasn't going to be under consideration anyway. I think Danny Ings might have a chance of forcing his way back into the pitch. He started the season very well for Villa, so he's one to watch out for. A couple of the younger midfielders as well. Harvey Barnes I'm thinking of there actually. So we'll see how we go. And hopefully they'll win those 3 qualifiers. We've got a very good record in the last, about 50 years probably of qualifying. England have got a very good record. It's just when they get to the finals they seem to struggle. Although in recent times we've obviously done well in the last 2 major tournaments. So come on England, is all I can say in that respect. Moving on to the transfer situation, and Harry Kane's confirmed in the last couple of days that he's now actually going to be staying at Tottenham at least for this summer. What that means, I'm not sure. And whether it's the right decision in the long term, I'm not sure either. It's good to see he's got some loyalty to his club, but realistically, is it because he's got loyalty to his club, or are his hands tied by the agreement or lack of agreement with Daniel Levy at Spurs? So he may live to regret this, perhaps. Because next summer the teams may have moved on. The ones that want to buy him may have moved on to other players. There's always a permanent merry-go-round going on. The people, obviously behind the scenes, are moving on from player to player all the time. So he may not be the one they want next year, and missed out on a big payday. And he's missed out on the chance to win some trophies. Because I'm not convinced Tottenham will win anything. They could win the FA Cup or the League Cup, I guess, but they're not going to win any major tournaments. Then again, we've all made these predictions before, made it look stupid. So they'll probably now win the league and the Champions League. Well, we'll see, won't we? Obviously, the rumours in the last couple of days. Obviously, there's only 4 days left to go in the transfer window. It shuts on Tuesday, I think. Big rumour this week has been two actually. Kylian Mbappe moving from PSG to Real Madrid. They've had a bid of 137 million turned down already, and they said they're going to go back with a second bid of Madrid. Leonardo, the sporting director at PSG, has said that he's free to go, provided they can get the right deal for him. So watch the space on that one, because it looks like it may go through, and if not, it'll probably go through in January, because they've said he won't leave on a free, or he said he won't leave on a free. So who knows what's going to happen there. It's interesting though. And the other big rumour is that Ronaldo is going to go to Manchester City. Now they've turned their attention away from, obviously Kane's confirmed he's staying at Tottenham. I believe his agent has offered him to Manchester City, and there's been a bit of dispute about whether he actually chose not to play last Sunday, or whether he actually was put on the bench by the manager, Allegri. So that's another developing story. The odds for Ronaldo to go to Manchester City before the Euros or something like 16-1. They're now into 5-4. They were yesterday, so that's another one to keep your eye on. Talk about European football. The draw for the Champions League was made yesterday, and I've got the draw on the screen in front of me actually at the moment. I'm looking at it, and Liverpool are in what you'd probably call a group of death, and after about 3 or 4 weeks of group matches, a couple of them are going to be on life support, I would have thought. Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, Porto and Milan are all in the same group, Group B. That's going to be a really tough group. The other English teams, Man City have got PSG, RB Leipzig and Club Brugge, so not easy, but we should be okay there. And you've also got Manchester United have been paired with Villarreal, the conquerors in the Europa League final last year. You'd think they'd probably beat them this time. I can't see them beating them again, but you never know. They've also got Atalanta, and they've got young boys. Now Atalanta are exciting to watch, but they also concede a lot of goals. And as I heard on the radio yesterday, people talking, I think Atalanta's game suits Manchester United, because they'll get caught and you'll be able to catch them on the counter-attack, because they're very open in the way they play, so that might suit United actually. And obviously Chelsea have got Juventus, Zenit St Petersburg and Malmo, so I'd say that's a fairly easy-ish group compared to some of the other ones. They're the 4 groups involving the English teams. Of the other 4 groups, Sporting Lisbon have been drawn with Dortmund, Ajax and Besiktas. Inter have been drawn with Real Madrid, Shakhtar Donetsk, and obviously the tournament favourite Sheriff Tiraspol, which sounds like a song by Carter Unstoppable Sex Machine. And then we've got Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Benfica and Dynamo Kiev. And the other group is Lille, Sevilla, Red Bull Salzburg and Wolfsburg. So that's an interesting group. 4 pretty evenly matched teams, I'd say there. Lille haven't started the season well, despite being the French League champions, and the manager having left in the summer to go to Nice for some bizarre reason. But so that's pretty much what's happening in the Premier League, international scene, and also Champions League and the transfer news. Moving on to more local matters here, we're looking at the National League now, and Halifax this weekend will be playing at Woking away on Saturday, and they're at home to Altrincham on Monday, Bank Holiday Monday, having suffered a 2-1 defeat in the first match at the Shea on Saturday against Maidenhead, a game which realistically could have gone either way. As the second half went on a little bit more, Maidenhead seemed to take more control. We could have wrapped it up well. We could have been in front before then, should I say. Billy Waters slipped at a vital moment, having had a good game, to be fair to him. He scored the first goal, created by Jay Ben on his debut, who got the man of the match from the sponsors. But the problem was we looked a little bit shaky at the back, we were a little bit open, and unfortunately, again, another slip by Luke Summerfield. Not blaming Luke, because it was just one of those things, and the fact there was no defensive backup for him. And Kane Ferdinand wrapped it into the top corner. Fantastic finish. Sam Johnson, who made some really good saves, I've got to say, during the match. He had a couple of errors, but that's what you get at this level with goalkeepers. But he had a good game, generally. Had no chance with the shot from Kane Ferdinand, and they wrapped up the points in the 89th minute to win 2-1. So we'll be looking to bounce back this weekend, these two games over the bank holiday weekend. Part of the issue, I think, for the Shaman was the fact that they'd had very little game time together. We'd signed 4 players probably in the last 2 days. McDonough, who came as a substitute, hardly touched it, but he only signed like the evening before. So hopefully he'll improve as the games go on. And the other 3 lads that he signed on a Thursday weren't involved. Jesse Deborah was on the bench, but he didn't come on. He's a centre half, so the other 2 lads weren't involved. So we'll see how their involvement is this weekend. We might see more of them after training this week. But yeah, we need to get some points on the board. And obviously next Saturday, the 4th of September, Town are live on BT Sport away to Yeovil. So if you've got BT Sport and you want to see a bit of National League football whilst the international breaks on, make sure you do tune in there if you can. So that's what's happening with FC Halifax Town, and like I say, hopefully things are going to pick up, but it'll take a few games for the league table to take shape. So I know obviously a long way to go yet. Okay, so we're going to move on from football now, and we're going to talk about cricket, Halifax Cricket League. There's not much to talk about from last weekend, simply because of the fact that ruined weather decimated the programme realistically. Only 3 games started, and of those 3 games, they all got to just over the 20 over mark before they were actually abandoned during the game. So Sorby Bridge's game was one of the matches that did start. Copper scored 196 for 2 off 24 overs, which is quite a lot of runs, but for Sorby Bridge, they obviously it was a benefit called off, and Copper did take 6 points, and they were the only team that got 6 points last week. The other 2, Triangle, Blacklist started their game at Triangle, scored 124 for 4 off 22 overs, so they got 4 points against Triangle's 3, and then Shell scored 178 for 4 off 27 overs, and again they got 5 points against Warley's 3. So they're the 3 games that started. Bradshaw's game against Halifax St Mary's never got started, which is a bit of a blow. The Derby game got cancelled there. Moving on to this weekend, I'd like to think the weather's going to be better this weekend. The forecast does look better. The fixtures for this weekend are Blackley against Warley, Copley at home to Bradshaw, Myvan Royd at home to Sorby Bridge, Shelf North Farm Hedgetop are at home to Booth, SBCI are at home to Illingworth St Mary's, and Thornton are at home to Triangle. So an interesting set of fixtures there. Both for teams that I follow closely, Bradshaw and Sorby Bridge at the bottom and lower end of the table, should I say. Bradshaw 9th at the moment. Sorby Bridge are in danger of being relegated at the moment, in 11th place. So come on lads, you've got to pick your game up now, get into the vital end of the season. I'm sure Steve, Andy and the lads will all put together to try and put them, obviously people like Chris Metcalf will put their best foot forward now to try and get them up the table. Likewise at Bradshaw, I'm sure Simon, Shani and lads will try their best to try, get them up the table from 9th. They'll want to finish nearer to the top than the bottom as well. So this weekend gives them a chance to try and lift themselves up a little bit. So good luck for those 2 teams this weekend in their matches. Staying with cricket, but looking at the test match, and England in a very dominant position as it stands at the moment in the 3rd test against India. Having bowled India won the toss, chose to bat, and England bowled them all out for 78. James Anderson took 3 for 6, I think, in 8 overs. What a fantastic burst of bowling that was. There were also good performances by all the bowlers, realistically. Moeen didn't really get a look in, but both Craig Overton and Sam Curran took 2 wickets each, but they were both on hat-tricks. And this was a point that was made on the TV on, I think it was Wednesday night when it happened, because it was day 1 of the test, was that there were 5 hat-trick attempts on TV, British TV, on the same day. Because the 2 in the test match and in the T20 match at the evening where Hampshire beat Notts, and we'll come on to that in a moment, there were 3 hat-trick ball attempts, but none of them were successful. So there were 5 on the day, none of which were successful. But it's probably some kind of record in a way, definitely for TV matches anyway. So so England have piled up the runs, and when they batted, and Joe Root has successfully completed a 3rd century in 3 test matches. A fantastic innings yesterday. I think 121 before he was bowled late yesterday evening just not too long before the close of play. But a great performance. Good performances also by Dawid Milan, scored 70. Great return to the Test team for him. 68 runs by Hasib Hamid, who put in a good performance, as did Rory Burns, 61. It was his birthday yesterday. So they all contribute to the top order. And Johnny Bairstow scored a quick fire 29. And Overton's still there at the moment. He's got 23. The only one that really missed out was Josh Butler with 7, who seems to be lacking a bit of form at the moment. Maybe because he hasn't played too many red ball games. But will that come? I don't know. It's a big debate area, Butler, for me. But we won't discuss that here. Because there isn't time, really, to be honest with you. So England, they're 345 runs in front going into day 3, and possibly may wrap it up today or maybe tomorrow. But you've got to say they're very, very strong favourites to level the series at 1-1 and put themselves on the shout of winning the series now. So come on, England, is what I want to say on that one. Moving to the domestic scene, and in the 100, I watched a little bit of the final. I missed the ladies' final. The Oval Invincibles won the ladies' final. They had their opponents 14-6 at one point in that game, and they won fairly comfortably, to be honest with you. So that wasn't a two. That was good performances there from Marizanne Kapp and Danny van Niekerk for the Oval Invincibles. And then on the evening match in the men's final, I was hoping that Birmingham would win, to be honest with you. I wanted to see Liam Livingston really bash it all over the park, but it was a little bit unfortunate when he was run out. But in the end up, he's run out, and the fact that Moeen couldn't quite, he supported him fairly well, did Moeen Ali, but he couldn't quite get enough runs on the board, and they were chasing the total, and eventually fell comfortably short. So your new men's champions are the Southern Brave. I've got to say, we were well captained by James Vince, and he got a good bowling line with people like Tamal Mills and Chris Jordan in there to back him up in the batting department. They've also got Darcy Short playing for them, so they had a good team. Sorry, not Darcy Short, Quinton de Kock. Darcy Short was playing for Trent Rockets in the tournament. But yeah, it was great. The only thing about Livingston's innings was it were a bit unlucky, like when he went out. I think he got 46 or 47. He got run out because he went for a casual first run, did like a little bunny hop and skip. Then he realised that he could get a second run on a misfield. They always say never run on a misfield, and the field just like had a direct hit from the boundary, and he got him out by a couple of yards. And it was a bit of a shame because he'd already hit a 6 into the hospitality area. I think it disturbed a couple of fans. They weren't even watching anyway, but there you go. But yeah, so that's the end of the 100 for this year. The T20 Blast quarter-finals are underway at the moment. We know 3 of the semi-finals for finals day, which is on the 18th of September at Edgbaston. Unfortunately, Yorkshire were one of the victims in this quarter-final, who were beaten in the end up by Sussex Sharks in the last over. They scored 177 for 7, which is an alright total. They were playing at had to play at Durham at Riverside because obviously Yorkshire ground Headingley has been used for this current Test match. They scored 177 for 7. They made a strange decision, in my opinion, to bring the boundary in on one side of the ground. It played against them to some degree because they didn't hit enough big shots. And there were some good performances. Gary Balance put in a great performance, 55. I've not had a great season in a limited overs game. He got 55, and Kola Cadmore took ages to get going. He got 55, but in the end up, you could probably argue that he cost them the game because it took him so long to get going. But then again, you'll argue that he stayed in. He got 55 runs, so you can look at it both ways. But it just wasn't enough. And Sussex won with about, I think it was 3 or 4 balls to go, or something like that. So, but yeah, Yorkshire are out, unfortunately, and the biggest upset was the night after when Hampshire Hawks beat Notts by 2 runs. They only got 125 for 6, and it looked like a comfortable chase for Notts. Alex Hales got off to a good start, and they got 42 for none off the first 4 overs. But after that, they just fell away once Hales was out. And there were a few poor shot selection decisions by people like Samit Patel and Steve Mulaney, and even me when he was in with his tail end. He made a really bad choice of shot, and it come down to the last over. Matt Carter did his best. He hit some lovely sixes. He's a big lad, is Matt Carter, the tall spin ball. I think he's about 6'5". He's massive. He's like a big unit. But he batted well, but his partner couldn't even hit the ball, basically, Dave Peterson, and he got faced 3 or 4 balls, and eventually he's got out. So he didn't get any runs at all last over, lost by 2. So, and then last night, I've only seen the result, but Lancashire are out. They lost by, I think, 8 wickets to Somerset. They got 180 odd runs, but Somerset knocked it off with a loss of 2 wickets. So they're through. So all the Northern teams are out so far. The only one that's anything like North is Birmingham Bears, and they're at Kent tonight at Canterbury, and that's live on Sky, the last quarter final. So I suppose I want Birmingham to win, otherwise it's going to be 4 Southern teams in the final, which would finals day, which we don't really want, do we? Let's be honest, us Northerners don't want 4 Southern teams in final. So that's where we are in the world of cricket at the moment. Now we're going to move on to talk about Speedway, because Speedway GP is back this weekend. The next round is in Togliatti in Russia. It's tomorrow evening, and that's I think it's a 4 o'clock start. I think it starts at 3:30 on BT Sport, but the live coverage, the actual event starts at 4 o'clock. We've got the two-way race at the moment: Laguta versus Schmarzlik, the defending champion, going for a hat-trick of consecutive titles there. So they're pretty well clear. Alexander Loktayev becomes the first Ukrainian rider to take part in the Speedway Grand Prix when he takes part tomorrow evening. And the wild card is Vadim Tarasenko, the Russian rider who's had a good season on the continent. I've not seen much of him this year because I haven't really watched any Swedish or Polish racing, but he is a decent rider, so he'll probably do okay. He probably won't be last, is what I'm trying to say, like some of the other wild cards have been. He'd probably beat Kasperjak, let's put it away. So we'll see what goes on. Hopefully it will be a good meeting. Some of the racing's not been that great so far this season, but there's been the odd one, but it's been pretty average really, so we'll see how it goes. In the domestic speedway scene, it's looking like clearly now Wolverhampton, Peterborough, Bellevue and Sheffield for the playoffs in the Premiership. Wolverhampton took a 45-all draw last night at Kings Lynn, maybe a little bit of a surprise that Kings Lynn managed to get anything out of that meeting. However, Wolves probably don't need to get that many points now to confirm the top place at the top of the table. It's fair to say that Peterborough have been performing well. They beat Wolves on Monday night, so you could say Wolves have had a bit of a shaky week, but they've both been away. Peterborough are very strong at home. They were 2 points behind after 10 heats, but they blew them away. The Wolves sort of top end fell away towards the end. Plus there were a couple of engine failures for Sam Masters, poor meeting for Rory Schlein as well, so that's probably contributed to a couple of performances not being as well. Ryan Douglas has been performing well for Wolves generally, but again towards the end of the meeting at Peterborough didn't do that well. So but this Monday, Bank Holiday Monday, sees a double header: Bellevue versus Wolves at lunchtime, and then the evening matches on BT Sport. The return fixture at Wolverhampton at Monmouth Green, Wolverhampton against Bellevue. So two great matches in store there hopefully. BT have announced the schedule for the rest of the season now, which I'm going to go through quickly now. So after Monday, the following Monday is Bellevue versus Sheffield, Monday the 6th of September that is. Then the following Monday we have Wolverhampton against Peterborough, another tasty affair, provided it's not all been settled by then. And on the 20th of September, the final league match of the season is going to be Peterborough versus Sheffield, I believe. So they're the basic matches. Then we come on to the playoffs. So you've got the following Monday and Thursday. So the 27th and 30th of September will be the first legs of the two playoff semi-finals. Then you've got Monday the 4th and Thursday the 7th of October, which are going to be the second legs of the playoff semi-finals. And then the following Monday and Thursday, the 11th and 14th of October, with the two legs of the playoff finals. So a lot to be decided, a lot of coverage on BT Sport. There's been a lot of complaints about the coverage this year from people that I'm aware of, and even Nigel Pearson admitted on the Speedway podcast the other evening that people have been asking lots of questions, and even he was a little bit frustrated perhaps with the way it's been run behind the scenes. However, he did say it's not just BT, all TV companies work this way, so it's not something it's something you probably should expect. And we've got to bear in mind that Speedway is a minority sport compared to things like football, cricket, rugby, tennis, even the Olympics, which Eurosport pride themselves on the coverage of, and before that it was the Tour de France, which they also pride themselves on the coverage of. So maybe a little bit unfortunate that it's at with with Eurosport. But we'll be interested to see how they get on when they take over the Grand Prix, which I don't know if it happens next year or year after, but it'll be interesting to see how the coverage goes with that. So yeah, that's what's happening in the world of Speedway at the moment. In the world of stock cars, we've got two meetings this weekend. Odsal Saturday night sees the F1's return and is supported by the V8 stock cars, who have their World Championship final. And then it's on to Sunday at Sheffield. The Odsal event, by the way, starts at 6 p.m. I think it's £22 to get in for adults, and it starts 6 p.m. and you can pay on the gate. Same at Sheffield on Sunday, which is the consolation semi-final. So the last few places available for the grid of the World Championship final, which is at Odsal again on Saturday, the 11th of September. all eyes will really be on Frankie Wayman Jr. Can he make it through, having failed to qualify from his semi-final at Kings Lane? You'd fancy him to win this one, or make it at least, I think, the top 3 are going to qualify. I'm not sure if they've made the final decision on how many qualifiers there will be. There's still been no definite confirmation on how many foreign drivers will be taking part in the World Championship final. However, 2 Dutch drivers are booked into race at Odstall tomorrow evening, so if they're coming tomorrow, there's got to be a good chance that there will be the normal complement of Dutch drivers, so it means there'll probably only be 3 qualifiers from Sunday's consolation race at Sheffield. Like I say, I think Frankie Wayman's probably going to get through, barring any kind of mechanical problems, and it'll be a bit of a disaster for him, and also for stock cars generally if he doesn't make it through to the World Final. And I've got to say, and he's not the only one that's mentioned this, I've seen a few drivers mention this, if they are in the grid, as long as they're on the grid for the World Championship final, and the amount of carnage has been at Odstall in his first few meetings, he might be better off being near the back of the grid, because he could well be out after 1 or 2 laps, and it could be all over for some people if it gets past the stage where it's not a full restart. So yeah, keep your eyes on what's going on in stock car world. This is also the last weekend to score qualifying points for the National Shootout Series, which starts in late September after the World Final, basically. So I think it's probably a weekend after, but yeah, we'll confirm that nearer the time exactly when it starts and where the dates are and what the final's going to be and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what's happening in the stock car world. Also, if you're interested in Formula 2's National Mini Stocks, they've got a meeting. I've just remembered that on Monday evening at Oddsall. I think it's £20 to get into that one. So anybody who likes F2s and National Mini Stocks are at a loose end on Monday evening. That's one for you to go and watch as well, I think. Okay, Rugby League next, and Halifax suffered a defeat to Widnes on Sunday in the Championship. They lost by 25 points to 6, bringing their long winning run to an end. A little bit disappointing after taking the lead 6-4 just into midway through the first half. It was all Widnes from that point on, really, and Steve Tyre were probably pleased to get one over on his old teammates by scoring a try for Widnes, and they saw them home by 25 points to 6 in the end. So that's a good result for Widnes, first win in 6. Halifax are at home to Swinton this weekend. Now, normally you'd say that's a straightforward win for Swinton, who are bottom of the table, but they only lost to Bradford Bulls by 4 points last weekend, and they are a little bit of a bogey team for Halifax. I have proven that over the last 5 or 6 years, so fingers crossed for the Panthers that they can get another 2 points on the board and continue to push to finish in probably the 3rd place. I think they're looking at the moment for the 4th. They'll be happy with that, I would have thought. They're not going to be able to catch Toulouse or Featherstone, I wouldn't have thought now, but they've had a good season, so well done to them. Okay, and then moving on now from Rugby League onto the Paralympics, because it's something I think we should cover, and they've made a really good start at Team GB. I looked at the medal table last night and we had 6 golds, 8 silvers and 3 bronzes. Look, this morning we've now got 9 golds, 9 silvers and 8 bronze, so we've had another 9 medals overnight. We're doing really, really well. I haven't been watching it as such, but I know they're doing really well. I've seen mention of, obviously saw Dave Sarah Story won the first one, I think, and we've done well in other sports. I think equestrianism was one of the ones mentioned, as well as cycling, stuff like that, obviously we know about. We're pretty good at most sports in this arena. We're second only to China in the medal table so far, and then it's the people competing under the not Russian banner, basically. We're 3rd, so great start and good luck to them. I hope we can bring on many more medals. You know, they're very brave people, these, and showing the prowess in sporting nature, and good on them, really. Okay, so moving on now, and we're looking at the US Tennis Open, which starts on Monday. I've got to say, I try to watch some of this normally. It's one of the ones I tend to watch. Now, obviously Andy Murray's in the main draw now, but I'm not holding out too many hopes for him, because obviously he's not at the top of his game. I don't think he's ever going to get back to where he was. But I've got to say, barring a major surprise, Novak Djokovic is going to win this for the men, simply because of the fact that Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal, who's now pulled out as well. So Dominic Thiem, who was the defending champion, pulled out as well last week. So they're 3 of his main rivals already out of it. And in the women's side of things, we're looking at possibly Ashley Barty, maybe Naomi Osaka if she gets her form back, if she's got enough matches behind her. Serena Williams pulled out of a hamstring injury a couple of days ago as well, so that's another one of the top ones out. But the women's one's more open, so anything could happen there. But Ashley Barty, you've got to say, maybe, you know, the favourite for it. Okay, so we'll see how it goes over the next couple of weeks or so. And then, on a closing note, some sad news really, a couple of sad notes really. Just want to say condolences to the friends and family of darts player Kyle Anderson, who passed away suddenly at the age of 33 this week. Very popular on the tour. Saw a few tweets from people like Michael Van Gerwen and Phil Taylor saying what a nice guy he was, and you know, he'd be missed. He actually relocated to Britain in 2017, lived in Nottingham, but moved back to Australia during the pandemic, and I won't speculate on what anything's happened because I haven't read the details, but obviously it's sad, and condolences to his friends and family. So R.I.P. Kyle. And also from the world of cricket, Ted Dexter, former England captain, has passed away. I think it was yesterday at the age of 86. So he was one of the all-time greats for England, really, and he was a commentator on cricket when I first started watching it as a child or teenager. So again, condolences, and may Ted rest to his family, and may Ted rest in peace. So on that note, I think that's it. It's been a bit of a long one this week because there's been so much to get through, but yeah, I've finished going on now, and hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll be back next week. May not be as long next week because we're down to the international break, but we'll be a recap of this weekend's Premier League games and what's happening in the world of football, obviously Town and the rugby at Panthers. So until next time, it's goodbye from me.